let's get this show on the road. I think this is a good position for the mic. And oh, yeah, I've got something you're going to love. Really? What is it? Lunchbox, just for you. Here. Wow, a lunchbox. Weenies, too. I can't believe it. Thank you, sir. Did you make this just for me, Mr. Wright? Nah, it was Detective Gumshoe. Who else would make such a nice lunchbox for you? Detective Gumshoe? He's really worried about you. Looks like he put a lot of effort into making this, too. I can't accept it. Detention center rules. No gifts allowed, sir. Hey, come on, Maggie. Don't be like that. The rules are the rules. They'll lock you up if you break them. Somehow when an ex-cop turned waitress says that, it seems a whole lot scarier. And anyway, I hate weenies. Oh, really? It's all yours, Maya. You can enjoy it with Mr. Wright. But... she's right. It's better than letting it go to waste. But... I guess so. Gumshoe's lunchbox eaten with Maya. Well, how was it? That hit the spot. I love weenies. Oh, good. I'm glad I gave it to you then, sir. No. That's the victim, isn't it? That day was the first time you'd ever seen this man, right? Yes, I never met or seen him before then. I just happened to be the waitress who served him his coffee, sir, that's all. It seems he was a computer programmer. Really? I'm useless with computers, completely hopeless. I don't know any computer programs. Did she mean programmers? Back when I was an officer, Detective Gumshoe always looked out for me. But today I was the one who had to look out for him, trying to incriminate me the whole time. You've got to remember, Maggie, Gumshoe's a detective. He's got a job to do. My old boss. I thought at least he'd be on my side. He is on your side. He'd do anything. You can't fool me. I saw him in court today. I felt like a poor little baby woodpecker being pecked on the head by its own mother. Gumshoe's testimony was pretty solid. No wonder it hurt her so much. I hate him, sir. I mean it. I don't ever want to see him again. Ouch. I think I just saw Gumshoe's chances go down in flames like the Hindenburg. I don't think it's getting through to her that he really was trying to help. I've been a bit of a courtroom proceedings addict for years now. It feels like forever since I saw a witness as slippery as that old man. He's not really that bad of an old man, though. Still, I feel a bit uneasy. Huh? I thought you just said you felt much better. Maggie, if there's something on your mind, you've got to tell us. Especially if it has anything to do with Mr. Kudo or his testimony. Roger, I'll spill it all and see what you make of it. Mr. Armstrong was very good to me after I was fired from the force. I can't believe someone as nice as him could have anything to do with this. Well, in the time between the victim being... In the time between the victim being poisoned and the police being called, the only person who was on the scene and had a chance to do anything was Mr. Armstrong. There was no one else there. Mr. Armstrong wouldn't set me up, would he? your phony, Mr. Wright. Just look at that ridiculous suntan. For the record, I'm not sunburned like an over-dried tomato, so I don't know how... He told me he'd been on a business trip to Hawaii, and that's where he got the tan. I'm not hearing this. Badge is totally useless, Nick. Huh? I mean, no one suspected that Zim Eop wasn't a real lawyer. I bet he didn't even have an attorney's badge. I guess you're right. Or maybe he did have one, and maybe he switched your real one for a Fugazi. My badge, a fake? That's a good one, Maya. Why the nervous laughter? Aha, I knew it. Your badge really is fake, isn't it, Nick? Here was drawn by the victim, right? This is a newspaper from the day of the incident, so yeah, we've got to assume so. There must be a clue in there somewhere. I guess we should show it around and see if anyone can tell us more about it. A letter of apology from the old man? Aw, how sweet. Actually, it's his testimony, if you can call it that. So, what's it say? I broke the vase at my seat, I'm sorry. I used to break things all the time when I was little, you know. And I used to have to write apologies all the time, too. Well, Pearls and Adrian seem to have picked up where you left off. The fake badge to her. Ah, is that your attorney's badge? Actually, it's a fake. Holy smokes, that's it. Huh? That's the badge your phony had, Mr. Wright. You got duped by this? That's a completely different color. And what about the fact that it's made of paper? Instead, the badge got a tan as well while he was in Hawaii on business. I'm beginning to see how my phony was able to gain her trust. Server just went up in smoke. Why the heck isn't the press conference set up yet? The superintendent's here already. Yeah, and there's a problem with the internet, too. I already told you to stop using your computer, Chief. But I'm watching videos online. I'm catching up on my Asian soap operas. It's gonna have to wait, Chief. I'm throwing the switch. No, just when some young guy was about to confess to his son's hot-to-trot girlfriend. Wow, this place is really buzzing. Something must be going down. Something really big. Huh? What are you doing here, pal? Detective Gumshoe! You can't be here right now. You'll be roped into the briefing if you stay. Huh? We've got big problems here today. Why? What's going on? It's a virus! A virus! A virus? There's a virus ripping through this precinct's computer system. I really need to ask you some questions. Okay, I'm only gonna say this once, so listen up. Yes, no matter how poor you get, never borrow money from a place like this, you hear? Okay? If you got money trouble, just go on a diet of instant noodles and hang in there. We're not thinking about borrowing money, Detective. We want information. Oh, is that all? Well, let's see. Tenderlunder is considered to be even fishier than the average illegal loan shark. And it seems it ran into trouble just recently. Those guys have been pretty heavy-handed, calling in all their debts. Really? Don't go poking your nose around in their business, pal. You'll really regret it if you upset that lady. Alright, I get the picture. Hey, wait a minute. What did you just say, that lady? Who's this lady he's talking about, Nick? You better find out what the story is with this lady. So what exactly is a computer virus, Detective Gumshoe? I don't know. What? Look, I just go with the flow, alright, pal? Yeah, I'm gonna call you Dr. Wright from now on. Hey, that sounds pretty cool. Don't you agree, Dr. Wright? Why do I get the feeling they're making fun of me? Okay, fine. I'm no expert, but I can at least explain the basics to the two of you. Neon says, I poke my nose where I please. Consequences be damned. Yes, exactly. Also, hello. Nice to see you. A virus is a program that gets inside a computer and causes damage. Damage? You mean it makes the machine go boom and explode? No, the damage is, well, it's all internal. So the inside goes boom, right? Imagine all the case data you've got stored on your PCs here in the station. A virus could wipe out all that. That's the kind of damage I'm talking about. Whoa, that's scary. Yeah, and what's even more scary is that viruses are infectious. Infectious? Most computers are connected together on a network, right? A virus can move from one machine to another over the network. So the virus just keeps spreading faster and faster. Huh. Just like a real virus, huh? But Nick, why would anyone want to make a program like that? Yeah, it takes ages to type in all that data. Why would you want to destroy it, pal? No, people don't infect their own machines. They send the virus to someone else's. What? That's horrible. Oh, I get it. It's like you sneezing on Mr. Godot so he catches a cold. Right, then he wouldn't be able to turn up in court because he'd be too sick. You really shouldn't do stuff like that, Nick. That's wrong. Who? What? Where? When and why did the conversation jump to talking about me? Anyway, that's what a computer virus is. A bad program that causes damage. And all the different viruses have names, right? And I kind of feel like I've heard the name of the virus we caught somewhere before. The name of the virus, huh? I feel like I've heard of it before, too. The name scribbled on that sports paper and written on that CD. That's the name of the virus. MC Bomber. What? Yeah, the virus that's just infected every computer in the station, pal. It's MC Bomber. Can you give us any more details, please? We already knew about the MC Bomber virus from a while back. A group of criminals issued a series of demands to the head honchos of law enforcement. They threatened to release the virus if their demands weren't met. Who are they? Well, I don't know. Some hotshots from the criminal underworld would be my guess. And now the virus has been released, huh? Yeah, it's in every computer in every public office in the city. Everyone's going nuts. They're hopping around like they're dancing at a carnival. All the stuff with criminals and viruses, it almost feels like we're in a sci-fi movie. Apparently the programmer who made the virus was a real genius or something. The focus right now is on tracing the root of this virus on the black market. You mean someone put this virus up for sale? Yeah, and because this one's so powerful, they're estimating its price tag was in the millions of dollars, pal. In the millions? A virus could be worth that much? Damn. guy was a real programming genius. I called him the walk-in computer at the place where he worked. What happens when he crashes, though? Does he just stop moving all of a sudden? He wasn't literally a computer, Maya. Anyway, there's nothing between Maggie and the victim. So, how about you tell me what kind of trouble Mr. Elg was in? I'm sorry, sir, but we don't deal with troubleshooting here. Perhaps you'd like to speak to someone in customer service. What's she talking about? I guess I'd better just take a shot and see where it gets me. Miss Basil, let me ask you something. Did Mr. Elg's troubles have something to do with this? Bandage around your head was from an operation? You also said you suffered a fatal injury to the head, correct? Yes, the operation was very difficult, apparently. Now, by fatal injury, you mean you were hurt very badly somehow, right? Did the injury in question have something to do with this?
Take that!
I have here a car repair bill. From this, it seems pretty obvious that this car was involved in an accident. Let me see that. This bill is made out to the Cadaverinis? Yes, it is. I don't think I ever introduced myself. Tell me, what do the Cadaverinis have to do with me? Something tells me she's not about to say hi and introduce herself. Alright then. The relationship with the Cadaverinis is very strong, and this is why. I don't think I have any way of proving her connection. Okay. So I can get to I can get through the first step. Okay. I need to go back to, the detective. And also I need to stop tingling my controller is up in my wires. That's the girl who works over at Tender Lender. You want to stay away from her, okay? I mean it. She does look kind of unnerving. Unforgiving, doesn't she? Well, that should be the least of your worries, pal. What's that supposed to mean? What could be worse? Her name's Viola Cadaverini. She's the only granddaughter of Bruto Cadaverini. Bruto Cadaverini? Neon says, unnerving too, I guess. Bruto Cadaverini? Do you know who that is, Nick? Never heard of him. He looks friendly. Bruto Cadaverini is the boss of the Cadaverini family. The Cadaverinis? That's one scary-sounding name. We can't touch them. They're way too powerful for the police. But you're thinking of taking them on, aren't you? No, I don't remember ever saying I was going to. I better get some more info out of Gumshoe about this family. Oh, right there. I'm not sure if I really want to get involved in this, but who are the Cadaverinis? Who are they? A scary bunch of people, that's who. You're a cop and you're scared? What's that about? Trust me, it don't matter if you're a kid or a cop, these guys are scary. They've got some serious clout in the criminal underworld. You can't touch them, they've got too much moolah. Moolah? As in... They pretty much control all the cash in the city's black market. The black market, huh? And that includes tender lender, I take it. Sure, no one stands up to Bruto Cadaverini, and I mean no one. Interesting. So Viola's the granddaughter of some mafia boss then? Yeah, and everyone knows how much Bruto loves this little girl. She means everything to him. So, how did she end up at Tender Lender? I don't know, pal. But I heard she and the boss at Tender Lender are pretty tight. Tight? That's what it said in a file I read related to Maggie's case. Sounds like a pretty important clue. Arg, I can't believe it. I almost forgot the most important thing. And that is? You know, the lunchbox. How did everything go? Lunchbox? You remember the weenies? Oh yeah, those weenies. So, how did my weenies taste when they went down the hatch? Huh? Well, it was delicious. Yeah, that's what she said? Really? Well, not exactly. Don't worry about it, pal. I figured something would happen, so I came prepared. Prepared? What do you mean? I made a jumbo lunchbox. Oh. Do me a favor again, huh, pal, and deliver this? It sure is a heavy burden, in more ways than one. I can just imagine Maggie's little eyes sparkling with joy when you bring her that. Weenies again, Nick. Tell me we don't have to eat all these, too. I really can't eat anymore. Nope, she's not here. Well then. Exactly who you are, Viola Cadaverini. You sustained that injury in a traffic accident, didn't you? It happened about 4 months ago. I was driving in one of our family's cars when someone pulled out in front of me. It was a motorbike or something like that. I don't remember it much. Anyway, I swerved to try to avoid it, but... I took a blow to the head. A bad one. Yeah, I can imagine. So, what happened to the person on the bike? I'm guessing they didn't get away I'm guessing they didn't get away with injuring the Viola Cadaverini, right? I don't know what happened to them. They ran away, or so I heard. Ran away? If they'd stayed, I'd have... Is it possible? Could the person who committed the hit and run have been...
Take that!
It was this man, wasn't it? He was the cause of your accident. It wasn't Don Tigre. I refuse to believe it. We collided with a motorbike and my car. But Don Tigre isn't injured at all, is he? It was the tiger who caused Viola to crash. I could feel it. Plus, one of her locks just broke, so she must suspect it was him too. I'm sorry, Miss Cadaverini, but I have proof that the tiger was involved in a traffic accident on his bike. The wheel guard is all smashed up. Oh god, that's a bit of a jump.
Take that!
It's not exactly a motorbike, but Mr. Tigre rides around on a scooter, doesn't he? And you'll notice that the front wheel guard is badly damaged. Miss Cadaverini, you know the truth, don't you? This repair bill was paid by Furio Tigre. The Cadaverinis have known for ages who caused the accident, haven't they? It's possible, perhaps. Somewhere inside me, I know that may be true. I knew it. But Don Tigre still saved my life. The operation was very complicated. It was very, very expensive. How much are we talking? Very, very, very expensive. She seems kind of hesitant about giving me an actual figure. I should back off. Well, anyway, it was the tiger who paid for it, right? After I recovered, Don Tigre told me. He said he paid for the operation because he cared about me. I believe him. Really? But do you honestly believe that to be true? Do you want to know what I think? I think the reason he paid for the operation wasn't because of you, but someone else. Perhaps I shouldn't be saying this, but your grandfather, Bruto Cadaverini, controls a lot of dubious cash, right? And you are his beloved pride and joy. Sure, I don't know exactly how much the operation cost, but if you weren't the granddaughter of Mr. Cadaverini, do you think Mr. Tigre would have paid the money? $1 million. I'm fully healed. 4 months ago, I was in a traffic accident, and that's why I needed the operation. When I woke up, they told me it was nothing serious, a simple procedure. Oh, really? Well, I guess if she recovered in 4 months, it couldn't have been too big. They said the operation cost $1 million. $1 million bucks? My grandfather ordered Don Tigre to pay $1 million in compensation. Compensation, huh? It's underworld lingo for paying money to settle a score. Basically, pay or get into some serious trouble. But $1 million bucks? This has to be related to our poisoning case somehow. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust what Don Tigre said. He said it had nothing to do with my grandfather being Bruto Cadaverini. I wanted to believe he helped me because he cared about me, not about my grandfather. But I knew, and that wasn't really true. Wow, I'm so sorry. What he did to get the money was evil. He said it was all for me, so I helped him. You helped him? In what way? Here, take these. What are these? Medical papers? I'm Bruto Cadaverini's granddaughter. He had to pay compensation. He was made an offer he simply couldn't refuse. Wow, I feel so bad for Viola. It's inexcusable. Huh? There are two things that I consider inexcusable. And Neon says, poor girl. Yeah, poor Viola. Poisoning and betrayal. Only a coward would hurt people using either of these tactics. Is everything alright, Nick? We should get going. Oh. I think I know why Phoenix is so adamant about poisoning and betrayal. Right after we finish our espresso. Yeah. I won't need to convince Viola of anything else, so I guess I can get rid of this. Repair bill thrown into the trash. Wow, look at this mess. Looks like they're all betting tickets. What kind of betting tickets? They're betting on which horse will win a given race. They're horse racing tickets. Oh, wow, those drawers are stuffed full of these. Looks like they're all losing tickets, though. There's over 500 of them. Jeez. This many tickets would get you, what, $1 down at the recycling center? But I didn't know you were so hard up that you try to profit from the dead, Nick. I'm just taking them as evidence, Maya. They're losing tickets. They're not going to be very valuable in any sense.
Take that!
No, I should have enough to, Yep. So, how about you tell me what kind of trouble Mr. Elg was in? I'm sorry, sir, but we don't deal with troubleshooting here. Have to do with this.
Take that!
What is that? A lottery ticket. There were a ton of these on the victim's table at the scene of the crime. And what is the relevance of that? The victim, Mr. Glenn Elg, had a gambling habit, didn't he? I don't think that's a logical conclusion based on the facts. Everyone dreams of being rich. Even I listen to Millionaire Radio. She's right, that is a bit weak on its own. But Mr. Elg's gambling wasn't restricted to the lottery, was it? The lottery, horse racing, he bought a lot of tickets and lost a lot of times. That's got to have hurt his wallet pretty bad, don't you think? Maybe bad enough to be the cause of some pretty serious trouble, perhaps. No! You are right, Glenn did have a gambling habit. You good people must not follow his example, do you understand? Trust me, even if I wanted to, I don't exactly have the money to buy any. But if you win, there's no problem, is there? And Glenn had a winning ticket, didn't he, for $500,000? Yeah, but it's hard to imagine how he could have been in trouble then, isn't it? It's true that Mr. Elg won $500,000 in the end, but that was his first stroke of good luck. He was in deep trouble before that. Deep trouble? What do you mean? Mr. Elg's real problem was with someone or something more terrifying and ferocious. Tigre, the boss of a loan office called Tender Lender. Tender Lender? People with businesses should think harder before naming their offices. Like you're one to talk. Well, what do you think? Our firm is doing very well at the moment. I don't think we need to borrow money. No. I mean about Mr. Elg. You think Glenn had something to do with this Furio Tigre? Yes. I'm sorry, I don't know of any connection between the two of them. Really? Because I've got proof that Mr. Elg and the tiger knew each other.
Take that!
Furio Tigre, aka the Tiger, is the boss of a loan office called Tender Lender. This is who Mr. Elg met with on the day of his murder. And the only thing a loan shark would talk with him about would be his debt. No! It's true that Glenn had racked up quite a bit of debt from his gambling habit, about $100,000, I think. $100,000? Ouch! But I heard he won the lottery, so he should have been in the clear. Shame Maggie couldn't get a bit of that good luck. Okay, so the guy got lucky and won the lottery. But what if he hadn't won? What was his plan then? Well, this isn't easy to say, but he said he would use his talents to repay the money. His talents? I suspect he was talking about programming. What computer program was worth $100,000? Perhaps you good people should leave so I can get back to my work. I'm so close to cracking her. Program in question. Was it by any chance this?
Take that!
Well, this is it, isn't it? This is the virus that's infecting computers worldwide as we speak. MC Bomber. No! Glenn's head had more processing power than any computer, but it had been infected with a gambling virus. Glenn was in too deep. You mean he was in debt? Yes, $100,000 in debt, not an easy amount to repay. So, he said he was taking on some extra work, something a bit risky. Risky? How? Maybe he was going to become a waitress at Tribulations? Where do you come up with these ideas? So it's safe to say Mr. Elg was the creator of this virus, huh? The MC Bomber virus? Yes. It was a work of genius, in a bad sort of way, of course, but still genius. Something like that would probably fetch several $1 million on the black market. Inconceivable. Gumshoe was ripe for a change. This date, December 3rd, that is marked on his calendar, and that was his deadline for repaying his debts. I guess we won't be needing these horse racing tickets anymore. Thrown back on the floor. Use the trash can, Nick! Hello. Bonjour! I have been waiting for you to return. Mr. Armstrong. Ah. Wrong voice! Very much wrong voice. Ah, good timing. I was hoping to find you here. We'd like to ask you a few questions. Well, he hasn't got anything to say to you, fellas. Ah, Zinny Up. Who are you calling Zinny Oop? Ah! Come out from under the table already, Maya. Okay, hand it over. What? You just want to play games with me? I don't recommend that. The medical papers, now! Uh-oh. I think he wants to be able to cadavering his papers back. You mean this? The $1 million medical papers? Miss Cadaverini trusted you. That's why she said that she helped you. Forget about it. That girl's dumber than an eggplant. You just want to know what's sad. I'll tell you what's sad, and it ain't only her face. She thinks she's got power because she's Brutal's little girl. Now that's sad. I can't let you have these papers. Tomorrow in court, I'm going to expose what you did to get the $1 million you used to pay this off. Are you crazy or something? I don't care if you want to give it to me or not. There's two of us here. You got that? 2. Oui. Mr. Armstrong? Forgive me, désolé. I cannot argue with him. That really hurt. Is that all you've got? I'll be taking those papers now. Armstrong, get that lighter. Wait! Don't take it too hard, Phoenix Wright. That was so stupid. I shouldn't have let my guard down. Whoops. Those medical papers were vital. Were vital evidence. Hold it, pal! Detective Gumshoe? Detective? You think you're gonna stop me, Copper? Beat it! Gar! Whoa! Come on, Gumshoe. Keep it together. You guys, get out of here. Leave this guy to me. But... Go, pal, and take this. If you get hurt, who's gonna look after Maggie, huh? Alright, thanks, Gumshoe. Wait, Nick, don't leave me behind! I'll get even with that guy tomorrow in court. Tenderlender is going down. Neon says, my hero. Thank you, Gumshoe, for coming in clutch. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Good morning, Maggie. So, what do you think is going to happen today, sir? Yesterday's session didn't go so well and ended on a giant mystery. That's true. And we still haven't solved a single part of it yet. Are you okay, Nick? Huh? Oh, yeah, of course. I saw that little flash of doubt in your eyes. No, that wasn't doubt. That was, determination. Why don't I believe you? It's nearly time, Maggie. You better get going to the defendant's seat. Roger, don't let me down, Mr. Wright. I'm counting on you. Hey, pal. Hey, Detective Gumshoe. Quit stressing Maggie out. She doesn't need that. How did you know she was stressed? I was watching through the doorway. Oh. You look like you lost the case already. Show a bit of confidence, will you, pal? Here, maybe this'll help. Huh? Have you taken up aromatherapy too? Not in a million years, pal. Don't tell me that you don't remember this thing. Come to think of it, that doesn't look like one of those aromatherapy bottles. This is the small bottle that turned up in Trey Bian's kitchen a couple of days ago. We finally got the analysis results back from the lab. So, what is it? Is it poison? I'm afraid not, pal. It's medication. Medication? Yeah, for ears. Topical use only, apparently. For ears, you mean... Yeah, it's the medication Glenn Elk was using for his ruptured eardrum. How's Glenn Elk's ear medicine doing in the kitchen? What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on that? Someone screwed up, so they only had time to analyze the contents of the bottle. Another hour and they might have gotten something on the prints, but... that's gonna weaken its impact as a piece of evidence. Okay, pal, this is it. Make sure your defense is impregnable today, got it? Today's trial. I'm gonna expose that guy for what he's done, or my name isn't Phoenix Wright. Ace Attorney. Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Ready and waiting as always, Your Honor. Very good, then we'll get underway at once. Yesterday we heard the testimony of Mr. Victor Kudo. He claims to have witnessed the defendant putting a powder into the victim's coffee. However, the witness's testimony was plagued with a number of problems. The mark on the rim of the cup shows the victim drank from it with his right hand, but according to the old man's testimony, he picked it up with his left hand. Thank you, Mr. Godot. Furthermore, according to the witness's account, the victim was listening to the radio with an earpiece in his left ear. Yet, the victim's left eardrum was ruptured, which made him effectively deaf in that ear. It's amazing how many contradictions a single case can have, huh, Nick? Ha! Allow me to enlighten you, Your Honor. The world, you see, keeps turning, and we must turn with it. You don't really get much of a choice in that. You've lost me already, Mr. Godot. Don't let the mysteries of yesterday mystify you today. Only losers think like that. You've got to change with the times. That's one of my rules. Are you implying that you've resolved these contradictions? You know the answers to these riddles. The old guy wasn't just throwing seed in here, he was throwing us off with scent. And today I'll prove it. Very well, let the first witness take the stand. And you are? Oh, bonjour, everyone! I am Jean Armstrong, the owner and head chef of Le Tribulations restaurant. Enchanté. Forgive me for asking, witness, but are you a woman? Oh la la, monsieur! As you can see, I am... I am Monsieur Perky. No? Moving on the day of the incident, you were in Trebian's kitchen. Isn't that right? With you, monsieur. Everything feels right. Wow, he's totally unfazed. Doesn't anything intimidate this guy? I think he just did that as an excuse to not have to say anything. He didn't know what to say. Very well, your testimony please, witness. Please tell the court what happened that day at Trébien. Oui, volontiers. I think my French pronunciation is slowly coming back to me. When it all happened, there were just two customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some new art decos that day. Like having a large mirror between les tables, par exemple. Oui, perhaps that is what l'homme ancien, I think. Le vieillon. I don't know why I keep defaulting to ancien. Le vieillon was looking at. La tasse, l'écouteur et les lunettes. He would have seen everything in reverse, no? Mirror? Oui, un grand mirror. I say my pronunciation is coming back to me and then fuck it up immediately. Un grand miroir. La... Most enormous. Mirror. Un mirror très énorme. Très énorme. And suddenly the mystery disappears. Not really. Like I said, the world keeps turning, so roll with it. That would explain the coffee cup and the earpiece conundrum. The mirror would have made everything appear back to front. What the heck? It's way too early in the morning for this to be happening to me. It's too early in the morning for this bullshit. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Hold it!
And who were the two customers exactly? May, of course. Le jeune homme who died? And the other, not so young man. You're referring to yesterday's witness, I presume. What about the other man Maggie says she saw at the table? Something tells me Mr. Armstrong isn't planning to disclose his existence. We need some hard evidence first before we can bring him up, don't we? I guess we'll just have to try a different approach for the time being.
Hold it!
Wrong one. You were experimenting with Art Deco. How come I never heard about that before today? You are not familiar with the language of interior design, monsieur? Please stay on topic. Now, why didn't you tell the court about this before? But I did, just a few moments ago. Ahem. Excuse me, Mr. Armstrong. This deco you mentioned, are you referring to some sort of découture? No, Art Deco. It's a style of design, Your Honor. He's talking about interior design, walls, ceilings, carpets, that kind of thing. Ah, yes, of course. That deco. I was trying to achieve a more, I'm guessing it's probably the same, but... more or less the same. I was trying to achieve a more effeminate look for my restaurant. I was planning the most bold remodeling of le décor. Yeah, le décor. Like having a large mirror between les tables, par exemple.
Hold it!
How big of a mirror are we talking about here? Oh, something about 4 mètres wide et about 2 mètres high. Let's see, if 1 meter is about 1 yard. Holy glass in a frame, that's huge. Yeah, 1 meter is roughly about 1 yard. A yard and change. The rule of thumb I've always used is, basically 3 feet 3 inches. But, yeah. That's pretty freaking huge. I was intending to install it on, le plafond, eventually. The ceiling? Was there a mirror on the ceiling? I don't remember. Why would he be staring at the ceiling? May know, but I decided not to go through with it in the end. What should I do? Should I ask him more about the mirror or not? This seems important. If you really had such a large mirror in the restaurant, someone would have noticed it. But there's nothing about a mirror in Mr. Kudo or Maggie Bird's testimonies. But...
Objection!
You didn't ask, Trite. You have only yourself to blame for such sloppy work. You didn't ask either! What? A mirror was delivered to Tribulations the day before the incident. Really? As Mr. Armstrong testified, he was carrying out some design changes. And as it turned out, he didn't actually use the mirror in the end. This just doesn't add up. Even if a mirror was delivered to Tribulations, it doesn't prove that it was in the restaurant on the day of the crime. Ha! If you want to doubt someone, Trite, look in the mirror. I'm sure the person looking back at you will be dubious enough. So the witness yesterday had seen the victim reflected in a mirror. Maybe perhaps that is what the Olivier was looking at. Normally, I'd expect people to know the difference between a reflection and a real object. Normally? How does normality come into this? That's lame, Trite, even for you. Huh? Are you trying to say that if something isn't normal, it isn't possible? Is that it? Where does that leave the porky-headed lawyer and the top-knot chick over there? And the ungodly cool guy with the mask over here? Well, Trite? Ack! Not the hair! I do not have a top-knot! Mr. Godot is correct. A lack of normality is no basis for discounting an argument. Bien, logic has one le jour.
Hold it!
Everything? He would have seen everything in reverse? Oui? Hey, Nick, we should take a second think about what old CD said in his testimony. How did he phrase it again? The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear without a doubt. And then he used the same hand to pick up the cup, his left hand. If he saw everything he described reflected in a mirror, then everything he said he saw on the left was actually on the right, huh? And that clears up all the problems with his testimony, I guess. Or does it? Ha! It's kind of hard to believe everything's the fault of a mirror, but do you think old CD saw everything through a reflection? If he did, it would explain all the contradictions in his testimony. But that just makes the situation worse for Maggie. There's got to be something in that old man's testimony. We've just got to dig deeper. Neon points out that Kudo was reading the victim's paper. So that on its own kind of implies that he couldn't have been staring at a mirror. Otherwise he would have been like, wait, fuck, why is everything backwards?
Objection!
The coffee cup, the earpiece, and the HMD. Let's think back over Mr. Kudo's testimony for a second, shall we? The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear without a doubt. So, to summarize, we were told both the HMD and the earpiece were on the victim's left side. Now, if Mr. Kudo saw all that as a reflection in a mirror, he means both the HMD and the earpiece were actually on the victim's right side. Exactement. You see, monsieur, now that you think about it, it is not so hard, no? Unfortunately, that's where we run into a monumental contradiction with the facts. If Mr. Kudo really did see everything in a mirror, why is it that the HMD is now on the wrong side of his head? Order, order! Mr. Wright is correct. If the witness genuinely observed the victim reflected in a mirror, then we would expect the victim's eyepiece to have been over his right eye.
Objection!
How bitter. Trite, you should have a taste of this bitterness. It'll calm you down in no time. Are we talking about your coffee or something completely different? You don't understand the way the witness thinks. How he thinks? You remember this, I presume? The I broke the vase sorry apology Mr. Kudo's sworn testimony. Exactly. The old man has one very grievous habit, other than throwing seeds. The more of an impression something makes, the more muddled his mind makes it. And what's the most striking thing about Mr. Elg? Clearly, it's the victim's eyepiece. And that's my point. The old man strikes again. Mr. Elg's HMD made a big impression on the old man. I saw the earpiece and those newfangled spectacles he was wearing. Oh yes, they were both on his left ear. Do you hear? His left ear. Ha. Well, Trite. Irk. That's the worst but best impression of Kudo ever. Wow, I really thought he was old seedy for a minute there. Godot's good. Enough. I must agree that yesterday's witness was irresponsibly rash in much of his testimony. Bad luck, Nick. Looks like the boil of a contradiction you found is just a rash. A mirror can't be beaten by a handful of seeds, nor can it lie. So, what exactly was the old man looking at? Fill us in, Mr. Armstrong. Go on, tell the court. We're all ears. Oui, I can explain. Please, if you'll look at... Plans? Les plans... des plans de... du rest... Okay. Please, if you will look at... les plans du restaurant. Hello, is everyone sitting comfortably? Le miroir, it was in the middle of le restaurant, dividing the two halves. There is only one seat from which you could have seen an image of le victime. That was the seat at the table next to le victime. That was where le vieil homme was sitting. After a terrible incident. Le terrible incident occurred. I moved le miroir so it was not in the way. But naturellement, I did not touch anything else. I see no problems with the explanation we have just heard. From the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror. Except if the mirror was in the middle of the room, when he arrived in the restaurant, he would have fucking seen that. What a naughty little coquette I am, confusing all the men like this. Don't worry about it. We can keep up, except for the guy breaking out in a cold sweat over there again. Arrgh, I hate that guy. You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror. Are you quite sure about that? Volontiers, of course. Very well. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please.
Hold it!
So, run this by me again. The mirror was here, correct? Oui? Really? Because I know if I were you, I wouldn't have put a mirror there. It would be in the way.
Objection!
Look who's talking, Trite. Huh? You're obstructing my view, among other things. Your view of what? But this is my seat in the courtroom. Tribulations' charm is that it gives you the impression that you're the only customer. Temporarily placing a mirror in that spot would hardly be in the way. Except it would give you a view into other people's spots, so you'd be able to tell if you were no longer alone, and defeat the purpose. Unlike you, Trite. I tell you, monsieur, le miroir was there in the middle of le restaurant.
Hold it!
And where would that be? Oh la la, look how you lean towards me. I always attract the younger boys. Maybe I should keep you... What's too, you know, handsome? Shall I tease you too? I'm already seeing a very hot someone, so I'm afraid you'll be waiting for a long time. I bet she has mocha cream skin and cappuccino perfume. Yeah, I will tell you. There was only one seat from which you could have seen.
Hold it!
So why can you only see the victim from that particular seat? Mais monsieur, it is obvious, no? If you look at les plans, you will understand. Le victime would have been reflected in le miroir like so. If you were sitting at la table next to him, you would see everything, no? So that's the seat old Seedy was sitting in on that day, when the poisoning happened. The old man was sitting at the table next to the victim? Why does that seem kinda odd?
Hold it!
Did you move the mirror while Mr. Kudo was off calling the police? Oui, exactement. I carried it out of le restaurant then. You moved a huge mirror like that all by yourself? What can I say? I know how to pick things up, and some. Godot actually laughed at something. Well, given the witness's physique, I suppose it is possible. Did you move anything else from the crime scene, Mr. Armstrong? I look like the obliging type, no?
Hold it!
Are you sure about that? I touched nothing except le miroir. Mr. Wright, is there something the witness has said that doesn't match the crime scene? Yeah, there is. I just can't put my finger on what exactly. Ha! Suffering from a case of heartburn, Trite. Oh, I have just the secret for that. An orla with golden mirror and frankincense. Add a few drops to your coffee and voila, enjoy. Focus, Phoenix, breathe. I need to ignore those two and just find some evidence. It is pretty strange, though, isn't it? I mean, nobody mentioned anything about a really large mirror. You'd think someone would have, but Maggie didn't, and neither did old Seedy. And the only logical explanation is that there was no mirror inside Tribulations that day. Now I've just got to prove it somehow. Evidence contradicts with the testimony we've heard, Your Honor. A crime photo? Yes, this photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist. What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright? Should not exist? Ha, sounds like you're describing yourself, Trite. Hey, mean. Now then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is the something that should not exist in this photo? pretty obvious that this is what should not be in the picture. The vase? What possible connection does that have with this witness's testimony? Your Honor, I'm telling you that there should have been no vase on this table. Because it very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence.
Take that!
Neon wonders, what did you do to piss Godot off, Phoenix? That's a very good question. And I don't actually know the answer to that yet. There is one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all.
Objection!
Don't be an idiot, Trite. That's impossible. Neon says that they will continue to keep it a secret for now. Thank you. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from. Exactly. There's only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Tribulations that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie. Mon Dieu!
Objection!
Don't try to confuse the court, Trite. Obviously, the witness cleaned up the vase, while the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene.
Objection!
Unfortunately, Mr. Godot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary in his own words. I did not touch anything else except the mirror. Ugh! Ah! Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself? Sniffle. I was right. There was no mirror in the restaurant that day. In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he couldn't hear? Ha! You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. If you want to claim that the mirror wasn't there, Trite, then this problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw? If I can answer this, then I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it. Are you gonna be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick? There's more than just this one contradiction, Maya. What do you mean? Remember what Maggie told us? There was another man at the victim's table, and there was a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Kudo's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up. Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer. Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Kudo's testimony is simple. The victim was a phony. This case is riddled with contradictions, yet there is one very simple answer that clears them all up. And what is that? The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two completely different events. What? Yes, the victim that Mr. Kudo saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. Pwah! Just taking a drink specifically to do a spit take. Come on. He's so extra. Order the court. Settle down or clear the courtroom. Quiet, Gramps. Why don't you clear out of here, huh? What did you say? Trite. Are you saying that what Mr. Kudo saw was a setup? Yes. Someone pretended to be Glenn Elg and acted out the whole coffee poisoning. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection!
Get real, Trite. Why would anyone want to do that? Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was... The serving girl brought him a Javachino, but she put something in it. That's the serving girl right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well. It's so hard to believe, but... There was one and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee.
Objection!
Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? It's true that there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but... It's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening. That's right. Well, witness, if your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics, you would have known about it, correct? Oh la la, this is most difficult for me.
Objection!
No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath, after all. He's already committed perjury. We've already kind of implied that he's committed perjury like twice so far. So, was there in fact a phony at Tribune that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened. The defense's request for additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain in detail the events in the restaurant that day. Oui. La victime, Monsieur L, he came to my restaurant alone. Let me double check that I'm... Oh. Yeah, it should be La victime. I remember Le Vieil Homme arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got word he won the... La lottery. When he got word he won La Lotterie, Monsieur L became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes later that the poisoning incident occurred. L'incident d'empoisonnement occurred. No, there was no time for a phony to do any acting. Just so we're clear, there was no mayor in the restaurant after all. Je vous demande pardon. Forgive me, Your Honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly. What you have just done is committed perjury, Mr. Armstrong. I will decide how to punish you later. Oui. And please don't tell me you're into that. For now, we will hear your cross-examination. Mr. Wright, if you please. You took that perjury charge a bit too well. But I'm guessing he'll be in more serious trouble after this cross-examination. Was he alone at his table as well? Maybe I saw him from le kitchen. No, kitchen. La cuisine. I saw him from la cuisine. Yet the defendant, Miss Bird, remembers it differently. She swears there was another man at the victim's table.
Objection!
Ha! Unfortunately for you, Trite. Yesterday's witness also testified that the victim was alone. Seeing you squirm like that reminds me of a certain coffee's bittersweet bite. What kind of coffee has he been drinking? It's not coffee, it's love. It's love that's bittersweet. Hearing Maya say that makes her seem wise all of a sudden.
Hold it!
By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct? Oui, he comes often for my special coffee. I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip just for the experience. Oh, you make me so happy, monsieur. You are most welcome anytime. I said it was worth one sip and nothing more. So, old Mr. Kudo arrived at the restaurant around the same time as the victim. Maybe I should ask about his arrival in more detail. So, you're saying that not much time elapsed between when the victim and Mr. Kudo arrived? Oui, that is correct. But that still leaves the possibility that something happened in that gap of time. And by your recollection, how much time would you say elapsed? Let me see, approximately 2 minutes, I would say. 2 minutes? That's all? It seems unlikely that anything untoward could have happened in such a short time. Rats. I know I should have pursued this line of questioning.
Hold it!
So your only customers were Mr. Kudo and the victim?
Objection!
How many times do you need to ask the same thing, Trite? You'd never catch me drinking the same blend twice. Huh? You're trying to establish the presence of a phony victim in the restaurant, but you're wasting your time. You can't grind birdseed to make coffee if you catch my drift. But there's a hole in this testimony somewhere, I'm sure of it.
Hold it!
Did you see him? No, I was in the La Cuisine, but I heard him. I remember him shouting, "Yes, $500,000! Presumably the defendant heard that too then, correct? Maggie? She looked like a poor little frightened dove. And what about Mr. Kudo? Le Vieillon choked on some birdseed that got stuck in his throat. It seems we now have yet another incident on our hands.
Hold it!
And what were you doing at that point? Without any customers, you must have had time to kill. I am a multi-talented woman, monsieur. Sorry, what do you mean? There is le... renowned chef. There is le chef renommé, Jean Armstrong, and the tragic poet. Tragic is one way to describe him. Le poète tragique, Clarice Armstrong. Clarice? Oui, I was writing a poem. An angry tale of a chef in $500,000 of debt. Cooking for a man who won $500,000 on the lottery. It is called Pourquoi. It means why. Perhaps I could recite it for the court? Please don't.
Hold it!
You mean you contacted the police as soon as the incident occurred? I asked Olivier to call from a payphone. By your own argument, Trite. The purpose of this phony victim's performance was so the old man would see it. In other words, once the incident occurred, this opportunity would completely disappear. Indeed. Yeah, it seems... The shadow of doubt. L'ombre du doute has been lifted, n'est-ce pas? I guess Mr. Armstrong is connected to this case, huh? Absolutely. Someone was impersonating Mr. Elk, and I refuse to believe he was oblivious. He was there the whole time, after all. But if you're right, wouldn't Maggie have noticed too? She fell unconscious when the incident occurred, remember? Ah, you mean that's when the phony staged his act. We'll know for sure once I find a hole in this testimony.
Objection!
Hold it!
Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived? Oh, no, I cannot remember, monsieur. I believe we were told by a witness yesterday. The crime was reported at 2:25 p.m. by a kind of scary old man, sir. Does that perhaps jog your memory, witness? Incident happened about 20 minutes after he arrived, so the victim must have arrived between 2 and 2:10, no? Just after 2, huh? Thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful. Ha ha ha. I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I? The time of day will be added to the witness's testimony. Oui, monsieur judge. Everything I do it for you. Merci bien. That's French, isn't it? Ha ha ha. I'm glad at least one person is in a good mood. He's even humming a song to himself. That's funny, isn't it?
Objection!
I'm afraid I've finally got you, Mr. Armstrong. Quoi? What do you mean? At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio with his earpiece. The show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week, they announced the winning numbers of the $500,000 lottery ticket. Neon says, very funny, hilarious even. Oui, that must be, the show. Show, what is show? Actually, radio program. Oui, that must be, le programme radio Monsieur Elog was listening to. I can't see any problem with this testimony, Mr. Wright. I wonder... You say the victim arrived at your restaurant after 2 p.m., correct? Oui, I am sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time because I had just finished serving, the lunch menu. Le menu du déjeuner. Get to the point, trite, if you have one. That show's broadcast live at 1:30 p.m. And it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life. It's on the air at 1:30. Now, supposedly, the victim made some noise when it was announced that he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy could have occurred after 2 p.m. Because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time. No! This victim we've been told about has done nothing but the impossible. Listening to the radio with a ruptured eardrum, catching a show that was already over. There's only one conclusion you can draw from these facts. This victim was an imposter acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. Yes, there were 2 Glen Elgs in Tribulations that day. The real Glen Elg, now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer, and the phony Glen Elg acting out the events for Mr. Kudo to witness. It certainly seems that way. I mean, if that wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy?
Objection!
Quite a performance, Trite. You were almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of rhythm to build your song. What is this, Music Theory 101? Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just after 2 p.m. The phony Elg is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain, then, where the real Glen Elg is? I don't believe I have to spell this out for the court. However, at that time, the real Glen Elg was already dead. That's certainly the obvious conclusion.
Objection!
Thank you, Trite. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. What? Now, I presume you can prove this theory of yours. Can you explain where the missing corpse went to? The missing corpse? According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. If that customer was the phony Glen Elg, then where did the killer hide the body of the real victim? Narg! The prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body? Yes, Your Honor. No conjecture, Trite. Let's hear some facts for once. Show the court a piece of evidence that proves where the body was hidden. Evidence? What's with the intense pressure in here all of a sudden? I thought I had him with that contradiction. But he's turned it all around and backed me into a corner instead. Well, Mr. Wright, the court will now hear the defense's theory and evidence. First, where was the body of the real Mr. Elg concealed? Inside Tribulations, obviously. It would have been too dangerous to take the body outside. Obviously, the body must have been hidden somewhere inside Tribulations. Interesting. But where could a body have been hidden inside a restaurant? Perhaps you would care to show the court on these plans, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. The exact location where the body was concealed inside Tribulations is...
Take that!
my kitchen. The body was hidden here. I see. Nice supposition. But the real question is, can you back it up? Where's the evidence that proves the body was hidden in that location? I think I know.
Take that!
Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize this bottle? No. I have never seen that ugly bottle before in my life. I only use the very best bottles, monsieur. The highest quality only for me. Where was that bottle found, Mr. Wright? Interestingly enough, Your Honor, it was found in the kitchen of Tribulations. Eh? Quoi? But I only ever use these bottles for my aromatherapy oils. But this bottle doesn't contain aromatherapy oil, Mr. Armstrong. No, it contains a medication. What kind of medication? I'm sure everyone remembers, don't they? That Mr. Elg visited an otolaryngological clinic and was given medication that day. You can't be serious. The defense had the contents of the bottle analyzed, and I have the lab results here. The contents of the bottle match the prescription that was given to Mr. Elg. War! Glen Elg's murderer hid the body in the restaurant kitchen, at which time this bottle fell out of the victim's pocket. Mr. Armstrong, when the incident occurred, didn't you say you were in the kitchen? Mon Dieu! Yes, you know what I'm about to say. It was you who hid the victim's body. You did a fine job pretending to defend my client, Maggie Bird. However, you were setting her up to take the fall behind the poor girl's back. No! Order! This is an extraordinary development. Witness, did you murder Mr. Glen Elg? Never! I could not do such an horrible thing. No! Mr. Godot, are you quite all right over there? The bitterness. Every time I get lied to, I always down a mug of coffee. You go through coffee like you drink coffee like it's water, my dude. That's one of my rules. Do you have the slightest idea how many cups you've had by now? I don't know. I'm so jittery. I'm seeing colors. I'm seeing music and hearing colors. The biggest Star Wars fan wants to tell me something. And hello. What is it that you want to say? Then I like to do the same to the person who lied to me. Make them chug coffee? That seems a little bit inhumane to me. I like to take them down with my empty cup. Do you make them drink the coffee or do you throw your empty cup at their face? Aha. It took the biggest Star Wars fan 30 minutes to beat Jevil. Congratulations on beating that asshole! And also congrats on beating him in such a short amount of time. Neon says, "Don't drink people?" Yeah, don't drink people either. And also gives their congrats to the biggest Star Wars fan. Listen up, chef. How about a brand new flavor in your ear, my H-deficient friend? Je vous demande pardon. Please, you must hear me out. It is a trap. Listen to me, por favor. Yo hablo español, Mr. Armstrong, and por favor is Spanish. Now their next challenge is Sans. Good luck with that one, too. I'm only going to ask you once. Did you do it? No, absolutely no. Let's hear it. You've got one shot. Right, Gramps? Witness, the court will permit you the chance to make one final statement. If you lie under oath again, Mr. Godot's coffee mug awaits you. As does my gavel. Don't hit people with your gavel, please. Oui, it is clear. What do they always say in the movies? I've got a bad feeling about this. Very well. Begin your final testimony, Mr. Armstrong. The confession. It is true. I hid. And they're going to go do the Splat Fest and wish me a great stream. Have fun with Splatoon. It is true. It is true. I eat le cadavre in la cuisine. A man forced me to do it. I had no choice. I had to go along with him because there was a reason why I could not refuse. But I did not kill him. I swear it. You must believe me. You were forced by who? I cannot say, or will be erased. Let's try a different question then. When Mr. Elk died, was he really the only person at his table? There was another man. I knew it. Maggie was telling the truth. You may cross-examine the witness now, Mr. Wright. There's just one more thing I need to do. I gotta break this guy and get him to tell us the name of the real killer.
Hold it!
Did you carry the body by yourself? I carried him, and I carried Maggie, too. Maggie, too? When she saw La Victime collapse, she fainted. I could not leave her there. But why did you hide the bodies? The man forced me to do it. What man? What man? Who was he? No, I cannot say. I fear for my life. He's really scared. You'll just have to put the words in his mouth, Nick. Yeah, you're right. If he won't tell me, I'll tell him. But why would you go along with this man? reason would that be, Mr. Armstrong? You know, monsieur. Yes? Surely you cannot expect a young maiden to talk about such an embarrassment. A maiden? You're a bit old to get away with that. And a bit too male. He can't finish the cross-examination without establishing his reason, so I'll just have to prove it with evidence.
Hold it!
So, you are claiming that all you did was hide the bodies, is that correct? Oui, that's right! If we are to believe you, Mr. Armstrong, you must tell the court everything. You must make clear the identity of the man who ordered you to do this. He's already confessed this much, he might as well stop dancing around the real issue. Yeah, but he really doesn't want to tell us who the killer is. Then sock it to him, Nick! Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Objection!
Is this your card? You have a $500,000 debt, don't you? $500,000? Is this true, Mr. Armstrong? Oui, je suis désolé. I was weak and I borrowed l'argent. This is Mr. Armstrong's Achilles heel. And that's why you couldn't refuse anything asked of you by this man.
Take that!
A $500,000 loan from a black market loan shark. And you had no way of paying it back, did you? That's why you were forced to do anything this man told you. Oui, it is as you say. Mr. Armstrong. Le Tigre. He told me he was going to use my restaurant for a business rendezvous. On le jour in question, he was meeting la victime to demand that he repay his loan. I don't know why it happened like that. I just did what he told me to do. I had no choice. I carried le cadavre et l'inconscient Maggie out of the dining area. Out of la salle à manger and into la cuisine. After that, I just tried to forget what I had seen. I think we can now safely say that the man who forced your hand was Mr. Furio Tigre. I do have one further question for you, Mr. Armstrong. The poison and the lottery ticket that were found in the defendant's apron pocket. Was that your doing as well? No, I knew nothing about that. Making it look like it was Maggie who had done it. I was not. It is despicable. Mr. Godot, you will summon this Furio Tigre as a witness. I doubt that can be arranged today, so we will adjourn for now. Proceedings will continue tomorrow. 30 minutes. What? The trial will go on. I'll see to it myself. I need half an hour to get that guy on the stand. Not a minute more. How the? Don't sit back and relax yet, Wright. No one knows if that chef is really telling the truth or not. This trial could still go either way. He does have a fair point. Very well, your request is granted, Mr. Godot. We will resume once Mr. Tigre is ready to take the stand. Until then, court is adjourned for a 30-minute recess. Imagine if it took him like an hour to actually get Mr. Tigre into the room. That would be embarrassing. So we're finally going to see the tiger on the stand. You've almost got this case won now, Nick. I wish I could agree. Huh? When I cross-examined Mr. Armstrong just now, he said he was just doing what the tiger told him to do. But Godot picked up on it, remember? He pointed out that without proof, we don't know if what he testified is the truth. You mean you think Mr. Armstrong was lying? I don't know, but if that's the line the prosecution takes, we could be in trouble. I get the feeling that we don't have the case-making evidence we're going to need. Hey, pal! Detective Gumshoe. What are you so jumpy about, Detective? Your hair's standing on end. Hey, that's the pot calling the kettle black, little Miss Topknot. It's not a topknot! Never mind about the hair, just calm down, alright? I can't stand still when I don't have a job to do. I kind of get wound up. Arg! No kidding. You gotta have something for me to do, pal. Anything. Well, hey, I'm gonna take a jog back down to the precinct. I could get some prints analyzed for you if you've got an hour. An hour? The trial will reconvene by then. But, Nick, we still don't have a really decisive piece of evidence, right? True. Without some kind of trump card to pull out of the bag, we're really stuck. You said you could get some fingerprint analysis done in an hour? You bet. In that case, would you mind checking the prints on this for me?
Take that!
If you're going back to the station anyway, did you find out whose prints are on this? Oh, hey, that's the small bottle I gave back to you this morning, right? Yeah, I think it's time we solve the last mystery of who the prints on it belong to. Sure thing, pal. Actually, that's been gnawing at me too. Yep. Okay, I'll get this off to the lab right away. Just make sure you don't lose the case before I get back. No promises, but this is pretty much the final showdown, I guess. It's time to separate the phonies from the real guys. Court will now reconvene. Mr. Godot, did you find this Furio Tigre? Neon's confident that I've got this. All I gotta do is bullshit for half an hour, and we'll be in the clear. I even tamed him for you. It was a 3-cup job. No problem. Tamed him? The guy's name may be Furio Tigre, but come on. I don't know, I think he could stand to be tamed. He's pretty lively. Be careful, he still bites. He better not bite anyone, or else he might have to be put down. Very well, please show Mr. Tigre to the stand. Witness, please. Rawr! Ah! Don't hide under the table, Maya. Unless there's room for me down there, too. What'd you say to me? Nothing. I didn't say nothing, honest. Who could have guessed that fear would induce a bad Brooklyn accent in the judge? I got business to take care of, you hear me? So who the hell called me into this hole? Was it you, Spiky? Heck, no, of course not. It was the judge. Neon says, "Where's Regina when you need her?" Yeah, she could probably tame him in even fewer cups of coffee. Your Honor? Oh dear, I seem to have dropped my pen. Where on earth is it? Don't mind me, just carry on with the proceedings as normal. That's it, we're doomed. Maybe you didn't hear me. I said, who the hell was it that called me in here? There's no need to shout. We can all hear you. What'd you say? There's no point struggling. You're caught in a snare, the relentless snare of the law. And I'm the one that hauled you in. Grr. Too cool. Don't let him get the better of you, Nick. Let's start with the basics. You know about the incident in question, correct? Incident? I don't know nothing about no stinking incident, mask boy. You mean you didn't attend the previous trial of Maggie Bird? Maggie who? I've got more important things to do than watch courtroom dramas. Of course. Well, perhaps you could give us your testimony then. Please tell us about what you did on the day of the murder. Ha! Phoenix Wright. You's the one who set this up, didn't you? You's gonna regret the day you ruffled the tiger's fur. You hear what I'm saying? Gulp. Maybe I should have brought a diaper with me today. Get a grip, Nick! I don't know nothing about no murder. I was tied up with business in December last year. Spent all of my time in my office. I got whales lined up to borrow cash from tender lender every single day. You just want to check my alibi? Just ask Violetta. At last I found my pen. Very well then, Mr. Wright. Your cross-examination... What is it? Please, witness, if you could refrain from shouting out like that. I know the kind of games that guy in the blue plays. That lowlife ain't no lawyer. He just punches away at stupid details till he wins. Lowlife? Me? Listen up, smarty. Every time you ask me something that doesn't relate to this case, I'm gonna bill you $50,000 and you're just gonna borrow the cash from me. That's one loan contract I refuse to sign. And don't think it ain't gonna hurt when you tangle with the tiger. Ha! I love a good spectator sport. Just a minute, that's really not... This witness is, how can I put it, a hungry tiger roaming the urban jungle. Get on his bad side and he'll bite everyone's heads off. Yours too. Very well, I have no choice but to impose a penalty system here. You'd better be listening. I said I got business to take care of, big business. If I don't split now, I ain't gonna catch my bus. The court will impose a penalty for any irrelevant pressing of witness testimony. Keep that in mind as you begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. You can do it, Nick! Come out from under there already, would you, Maya?
Hold it!
Are you sure about that? We're talking about 1 month ago, you know? You see these teeth? That's how sharp my secretary is. Sharp? Is he talking about Viola Cadaverini? She writes everything. She writes... Starting to go a little bit southern there. She writes everything in my scheduler. December, mainly in the office. That's what it says, so that's where I was. And that seems like a rather sketchy schedule. Grr. There he goes again. What the tiger did all December isn't the issue. What's important is what he was doing on the day of the murder, so now what? Mr. Tigre, what you want? If you wouldn't mind going into a bit more detail.
Objection!
This is a dead end, Triton, you know it. Remember the rules.
Objection!
No, it's essential that we establish the witness's alibi accurately. I agree. The victim was killed on December 3rd. Were you in the office that day too? Maybe yous ain't listening. Of course I was. I never set foot outside. I had meetings all day with a bunch of cats wanting to do business with me. I ain't never seen that young kid before. I do believe the witness's last statement was important. Mr. Godot, if you could please... Mr. Tigre, the court asks you to add that last statement to your testimony. Huh. Don't let an animal beat you. Be a man, Your Honor, and ask him yourself.
Objection!
Mr. Tigre, you claim you didn't know Mr. Glenn Elg, but it appears that Mr. Elg knew you. What? Mr. Elg left this little note on his calendar. Meet with the tiger. And the date? December 3rd. December 3rd? That's the day of the murder. So, Mr. Tigre, I submit that you did indeed know one Mr. Glenelg. Because on the very day of the incident, you met with him. Not bad, you's actually not bad. Sorry? I was just messing with yous to see how good you were. Did you hear that, Nick? He said you're not bad. That's one compliment I can do with that. Plus, he's lying through his teeth. Witness, please remember that you're under oath. Lies will not be tolerated. You's calling me a liar? Is that what you doing?
Ruh-roh.
So you're saying that your claim to have never seen that kid before is the truth? I said I'm dead serious. You better believe that's the truth. Ha. Then I'd say that gives me time to enjoy another cup of pure black magic. That is, while you testify for the court again, Mr. Tigre.
Oh, yes. Would you mind indulging the court, witness?
You never actually met the victim? That's gotta be a lie right there. This time I nailed this guy. Not in that way. Maybe nail him to the table in a literal sense, but I ain't no liar. I never met Glenelg. There was some lame guy with that name, though. He wanted to borrow cash from me. I set up a meeting with the guy at my office, Tender Lender. I waited around for him, but he ain't never showed. I ain't never even been to that Tribulations joint you's here. I see, that all seems perfectly logical. You had arranged to meet with the victim, but he didn't show up. I've heard it's pretty hard to keep appointments when you're dead. Very well, you may begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. Didn't I tell you we got a big deal going down today? I ain't gonna make my bus now. I'm gonna have to take the express train. That bill's going straight to you, Wright. Gah. You've never been to Tribulations, you say? Neon says, you're not great at this, Mr. Kitty. He's really not.
Objection!
Mr. Tigre. Mr. Kitty, is there something you'd like to tell the court about these matches? I should just call him Mr. Kitty from now on. Matches? What you's talking about? We found them in your office at Tender Lender. They're from that restaurant. What? If you've really never been to Tribulations before, what was a book of the restaurant's matches doing on your desk? You've been snooping around in my stuff now too, wise guy. What are you, my ball and chain? Ain't no broad controlling me. Order, order. Well, witness, I think it's time you started telling us the truth, don't you? Rawr!
Sorry, I'm terribly sorry. Forgive me.
I ain't no pussycat. I don't go back on what I said. But okay, I was at the joint that day. What? Well, listen good, all right? I might have been there, but I still never met that kid. Well, well. Looks like an order just came in for another testimony. I'm this close to proving it was him. He did meet Glenelg that day, and he did put poison in his coffee. He must have. Actually, come to think of it, did she not question the scar, or did he put on makeup to hide it? I was supposed to meet with the kid at the restaurant that afternoon. When I opened the door to the joint, I saw one ugly scene. The guy was laid out over the table, stiff as concrete. I figured if the place wasn't hot already, it was gonna be, so I split. I heard the cop sirens on my way out, and I went straight back to my office. I see. You didn't actually meet with him in the end, then. Well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. Yes, Your Honor. Hold it, if I wait around here any longer, I ain't even gonna make the normal express. No more stupid questions. I haven't been asking any, stupid questions. Ha, no problem. Anytime Trite presses you on something irrelevant, I'll see he pays a penalty. Mr. Godot, that's my job. Your job is to slam that little hammer of yours and call a guilty verdict. So do it.
Yes, sir.
The Special Express ain't cheap, right? Just so yous know, since yous paying. Oh man, doesn't the rule of law mean anything around here? You mean you saw Glenn Elg's dead body? I guess I did, but I only saw him from behind. He was wearing some raggy bit of cloth he called a hat. And what time was this? I don't know. Huh? You know what winds me up more than anything else in the world? Watches. Round watches. I ain't gonna pollute my paws with some ticking hen pecker. Out of interest, Mr. Kitty, what winds you up the second most? Huh? What do you think? Square watches! At least he's consistent. Is this guy for real? Look, all I needed to know was that something bad was going down in that place.
Hold it!
So you didn't actually set foot inside the restaurant then? The tiger is a busy cat. I don't hang around for no one. I ain't got time to be caught up in no murder investigation. So, when exactly did you pick up the matches? There are matches just inside the front door. Our detective friend wound up in trouble with the chef after taking 5 books home. Poor Gumshoe. It's almost enough to make a man cry. Had to have gone in further than the front door if he saw what he saw.
Objection!
You're something of a loan-collecting pro, aren't you, Mr. Kitty? No one expects? No one escapes the tiger's clutches. Well, I'm something of a lie-detecting pro. And no one escapes the phoenix's clutches. I think it's time we got something straight. What's this, Trite? A new line of irrelevant questioning? These are the floor plans of the crime scene. You say you were standing at the entrance, Mr. Kitty? From there, your field of vision would have covered an area something like this. Indeed, the witness would have had a clear view of the victim's seat. Isn't that what I just said? I saw the back of the kid's head. Unfortunately for you, that is not possible. If the court would think back, you'll remember that between each of the tables is a tall partition. Why, that's true. Now look at the plans again. The truth is painfully obvious. From the entrance, the field of vision of any customer walking in ends here. So, from the entrance of Tribulations, you couldn't have seen the victim's seat. But you did see the victim that day, because you met with him.
Objection!
Wrong. Have you forgotten the old man's testimony yesterday? The victim was alone at his table.
Objection!
But the defense just proved that point to be moot. The victim witnessed by Mr. Kudo was not Glenn Elg, but a fake. What? In order to have Mr. Kudo falsely testify, the real killer posed as the victim he had just killed and acted out a charade. That will do. This trial has gone on long enough without the obvious question being answered. Who exactly was this real killer who impersonated the victim? You say the killer murdered Glenn Elg, and then impersonated his victim in a performance for Victor Kudo. In that case, Mr. Wright, reveal the identity of this criminal to the court. Obviously. The killer is Furio Tigre. No one else could have done it. What? Well, witness? Grahaha. Now that's cute. Yous think you can pin this on the tiger? Maybe yous don't understand. The tiger is king of the jungle. So I dares you to say it again. Come on, you got the guts? You can't threaten me, Mr. Kitty. It's the defense. Go ahead and tell the witness, Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright! Sounds to me like it must be you, old man. You've got guts, I'll give you that. Mr. Wright, do not leave me to handle this alone. Ha, perhaps I can end this embarrassment. Mr. Godot. Let's just go back over Mr. Kudo's testimony one more time. The old man didn't just see the victim. Oh, no. Serving girl brought him a Javachino, but she put something in it. There's no question about it, she very conspicuously put some white powder in there. Was the victim he saw the real victim or not? That doesn't matter. The fact remains he saw the accused put the poison into the coffee. Yes, it was the waitress who poisoned the coffee.
Very impressive, Mr. Godot.
Waiting for my absence to launch your attack. Ha. Found your pen at last, Trite. It was in my pocket. But anyway, Mr. Kudo witnessed two people that day. He saw the victim, the supposed Mr. Glenn Elg, and the waitress from behind. Yes, your point, Mr. Wright? I think the conclusion is obvious. If this Glenn Elg was really the killer in disguise, then surely it's possible the waitress was also part of the show. What? You mean the waitress was an imposter as well? The defendant, Ms. Bird, fell unconscious immediately after the incident. And someone used her fainting to hatch an elaborate plan to pin the murder on her. Who on earth was it? Who was this waitress that Mr. Kudo witnessed? No.
Take that!
Who is this woman? Her name is Viola Cadavrini. She's an employee of Tender Lender. You's making a big mistake. Do you know who Violetta's grandfather is? You better be going home in an armored truck tonight if you know what I mean. Stop shaking, Nick. Where was I? Yes, the defendant, Miss Bird, has stated the following. Well, when I took the coffee over to the victim's table, it's true there was another customer in the restaurant. She was sort of creepy, and she had a kind of cackling laugh. There are just too many contradictions in this case. The second man at the victim's table who nobody but Miss Bird seems to have seen. The earpiece worn by the victim in his left ear when that eardrum was ruptured. And the radio show he was supposedly listening to half an hour after it was over. There's only one logical explanation that clears up all of these contradictions. The whole incident took place twice, once for real and once for show. And Mr. Furio Tigre, the only person who could have committed the crime, is you. Witness, what have you got to say? That's cute. Sorry? He's alright, I could do with a guy like you around. What do you mean? Okay, I'm in on this game. I'm gonna have to charter a jet to get me to my meeting now, but I'm gonna give yous one more thing to think about before I go. Something to think about. You's got it all wrapped up nice, huh, right? But you's missed out one real important thing. But that can't be. I was in the joint that day, and I met that kid, too. But I couldn't have poisoned him, you's here? What? Do you really expect us to believe you now, Mr. Kitty? Ha. What a troublemaker. Troublemaker? Looks like we're going to need another one for the road. One more steaming cup of hot testimony. Indeed. Witness, you will explain yourself to the court. I will give you one more chance to testify. What happened that day at Tribulations between yourself and the victim? Yeah, I loaned Elg cash, about $100,000. That day, we was due to have a little chat. The kid had hit his payback date, see? So anyway, he tells me he's got no way to pay up. I'm about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming. Yes, I won! $500,000. He got lucky, you know. Real lucky. If that waitress hadn't done what she'd done, everything would have been over. Now I see that the principal amount you loaned to Mr. Elg was $50,000. Yeah, well, you've got the VIG to take into account. Interest builds up fast, you know? That's faster than fast. $100,000 is twice his principal. And the repayment deadline was December 3rd, the day of the incident in question. Yeah, he was one lucky kid. He got that $500,000 just in time. So I ain't have no reason to kill the kid. And if I ain't got no motive, you ain't got no case. His motive? He has to have one, but what is it? The waitress, you mean? The girl with the glasses in the defendant's chair. Who else could I mean? If she hadn't gotten in the way, things would have been bada bing, bada boom, over and done with. Maybe I should push a little on this. What do you mean things would have been over and done with? Are yous all there or what? I'm talking about the cash. I was there to get my $100,000 back, that's all. I'm a businessman. It was all coming together before that waitress got in the way. As far as I can tell from the witness's testimony, other than recouping his loan, Mr. Kitty had no motive for killing the victim. Witness, you will amend your testimony to reflect what you just said. The tiger's motive, huh? No other reason, huh?
Objection!
So you just intended to get back the $100,000 Mr. Elg owed you, correct? I loaned the guy the cash, so that's my right. Unfortunately for Mr. Elg, I don't believe the $100,000 is what you were really after.
Objection!
What are you getting at, trite? What else would a moneylender be after other than money? Oh, the moneylender was after money, but money in a totally different league. The kind of money that a single disc like this would fetch. What is that? A computer virus, Your Honor. A virus called MC Bomber. A computer virus? What does one of those do? A computer virus is a program that wreaks havoc on the insides of a computer. A computer? What does one of those do? I guess the beard isn't the only part of His Honor that is from the Stone Age. I'll explain it to you later, Your Honor. Right now, this is the important point. A virus like MC Bomber would be worth several $1 million on the black market. Several $1 million? Lending money with no hope of ever seeing repayment would normally be bad for business. But in this case, the very fact that Glenn Elg had no way to repay the money is crucial. What? Glenn Elg was a programmer, a highly skilled programmer. That skill was the collateral Mr. Elg put up in order to borrow the money.
Objection!
You're trying to suggest the witness's motive was to get hold of that program. Exactly. The witness may have poor fashion sense, but he is by no means an idiot, trite. A man like him could get his hands on $1 million without resorting to murder. Of course he could, provided he had time. But what if he had needed the money right then? When the pressure's on, the luxury of choice tends to disappear. It seems you have a logical conclusion for this theory, Mr. Wright. Would you care to share it with us? Why did Mr. Kitty need money to the tune of $1 million?
Take that!
In December of last year, you found yourself in need of a huge amount of money. About 6 months ago, you were involved in a traffic accident, weren't you? An accident involving a car and a scooter, in which a young woman was injured. I'm amazed that he wasn't the one who was seriously injured, actually. She was taken to the hospital where she underwent surgery. How much do you know? These medical papers document the treatment of the young woman in question. According to these, her operation cost $1 million. And yet when the payment was due last month, you somehow managed to pay it in full. $1 million? A preposterous sum. Someone should sue these HMOs. Yeah, seriously. Ha, no one would pay a bill like that. If the medical association got wind of it, the hospital would end up as dead as a morgue. But Mr. Kitty had no choice but to pay, because his very life depended on it. Grah! Order, order, order! You say his life depended on it, Mr. Wright. Indeed it did, simply because the injured woman was none other than Viola Cadaverini. Did you say Cadaverini? Bruto Cadaverini, mob boss in charge of all underworld activities in the city, and doting grandfather to his precious Violetta, also known as Viola Cadaverini. Bwah! Your life was in danger unless you paid compensation to the boss, correct? It makes sense. You were desperate to acquire the $1 million Bruto Cadaverini demanded of you. So desperate, in fact, that you decided to sacrifice Glen Elg's life to pay your debt. On the day of the murder, Mr. Kitty's sole intention was to get his hands on the CD. Glen Elg had no way of paying back the $100,000, and Mr. Kitty knew it. But then a miracle happened. The kind that Mr. Kitty would prefer to say never happened, but he can't, and neither can I. The lottery win. Exactly. At the 11th hour, Mr. Elg won $500,000 on the lottery, which left Mr. Kitty with no way of getting his hands on the all-important CD. At least, no legitimate way. So he resorted to illegitimate means. That's crazy. He murdered Glen Elg and then made his next move, to frame Maggie Bird for the crime. Mr. Kitty posed as Glen Elg, while Viola Cadaverini played the role of Miss Bird. And then they reenacted the whole thing in order to establish a witness. The witness being the one we all heard testify yesterday, Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection!
Like I said, Trite, that's crazy. No one could pull off a stunt like that. For starters, there's no way the chef could have been kept in the dark about it. But Mr. Armstrong was in on it from the very beginning. Have you forgotten already, Mr. Godot? Mr. Armstrong owed the witness money too, $500,000 in fact. He had no choice but to go along with Mr. Kitty's plan. Order, order, silence or I will clear the... You've put on a good show, Spiky. If you want to stay alive in the loan shark business, you gotta be careful. You saying I dressed up like that kid created a witness and framed someone? If I did something crazy like that, I'd leave a trail as bright as my shirt. I ain't dumb enough to do something sloppy like that. I agree. You do. Despite your appearance, you are very careful. That's why you took one more precaution. One more trick to make sure Miss Bird had no way out. What? Another one, Mr. Wright? Interesting. Hold on one moment. Interesting. Why don't you fill us all in? Why don't you fill us all in, Trite? What was this trick you say Mr. Kitty performed to frame the accused? Easy.
Take that!
What on earth is that? What an insult to think anyone could be fooled by such a childish imitation. Consider yourself insulted, Your Honor. Mr. Kitty, you didn't just pose as the victim on the day in question. A month ago in this very court, you posed as me. What? That's the truth. But the witness looks nothing like you, Mr. Wright. Although, now that I think about it, it was you, wasn't it? No doubt it was you standing in here this very court a mere month ago. The Phoenix Wright who put up the most disreputable, shabby defense I'd ever seen. Grr. Grr.
Objection!
Can you prove that, Gramps? Prove the attorney who represented the accused here a month ago was this man. Are you prepared to take the stand and testify that it was him? Go. Hey, forget about it, yeah? I wouldn't do something like that, not me. You made a mistake, right? It was someone else, huh? Nah. Have you no pride, sir? This isn't a matter of pride. In case you didn't know, Trite, here in court we deal with people's lives. Mr. Godot is right. Your Honor, speaking for myself, I am absolutely convinced. The attorney in question was the witness standing before me now. However, I preside over this court as the judge, with the vested power to hand down a verdict. Someone in my position cannot be swayed by a memory without evidence to support it. No! If the defense has no further evidence, the court will now excuse the witness. The circumstances surrounding Mr. Kitty are dubious for sure, but not conclusive. But we've come so far! You say he impersonated Glenelle, you say he impersonated you. But none of that adds up to a murder charge. You don't have a shred of evidence that the witness poisoned the victim's coffee. Yarg! Ha. Sucks to be you, Wright. Don't mess with the tiger or you're gonna get mauled. You's got that? All we managed to do here was chase him around a bit. But I was so close to getting him to admit his own guilt. Ha. Looks like I won't be needing a refill. If I just had one more piece of evidence. One more piece of evidence and maybe I could get Maggie off the hook. This witness's cross-examination is over. You are free to go, Mr. Kitty. Your Honor, sir. Wait! Detective Gumshoe. Sorry I took so long, pal. I staked everything on this. My badge, the works. So here it is. My heart's counting on this, too. What is it, Detective? Isn't it obvious, pal? It's the final decisive piece of evidence. What? Sorry it took so long, pal, but I finally got the results from the lab. The results? About the prints, pal, from this medicine bottle. Oh, so do you know who the prints belong to now? Do you think I'm some kind of hack detective? Of course I know. So tell us. They're the tigers, right? I knew it. Hahaha. You bet. Clear as crystal all over the bottle. They're Furio Tigre's paw prints. They're Furio Tigre's paw prints, all right. That's great. We've got him now, Nick. What's wrong with you? You've hardly said a word since Detective Gumshoe got here. He's laid everything on the line for this, Nick. I know. Look, I'm sorry. This is kind of hard to say, but It really doesn't make any difference whose prints are on that bottle now. Huh? What? Why not? What we need to produce at this stage in the trial is irrefutable evidence that the tiger put poison in Glen Oak's coffee. He's already admitted that he met the victim. The fact that his prints are on this bottle, that really doesn't make any difference now. I knew it. Great. No matter how hard I try, I'm never of any use. Hey, don't be so hard on yourself. This was our last chance to help Maggie. And I've been working on some useless piece of evidence the whole time. It's alright, I'm a real loser. It's not breaking news to me, pal. Detective Gumshoe? Maggie! You've been working on something for me? Sorry I let you down, Maggie. I know you didn't do it. And I'm a detective. We're supposed to be able to prove stuff like that. I'm really sorry. I'll get out of your hair now. Detective Gumshoe, wait! He's gone. Isn't there anything we can do now, Nick? I wish there was! Gumshoe worked so hard to get that evidence. If only there was some way I could use it. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. I granted you a recess so you could prepare this decisive evidence you've discovered. Yes. Don't keep us all in suspense, Trite. Show us. Naturally. We can assume it's evidence that will actually stand up in court, can't we? Think, Phoenix. Don't let Gumshoe's hard work go to waste. How much more of my time are you gonna waste? I ain't been to no court before. These lawyers sure know how to blow things out of proportion. No doubt, given the nature of the evidence, it will speak for itself. Nevertheless, you will talk us through it, Mr. Wright. Well, I know I can't prove anything new with this evidence. I'm really backed into a corner here. But maybe if he thinks he's got me beat, he'll let his guard down a bit. Don't keep us waiting any longer, Mr. Wright. Present this final decisive piece of evidence to the court. No.
Take that!
This is the defense's final piece of evidence. Isn't that the victim's... Your Honor. Naturally, the court is already aware of the contents of this bottle. However, interesting new information has come to light. We have clearly identified some fingerprints on it. Fingerprints belonging to you, Mr. Kitty. What? But, Mr. Wright, what conclusion are you hoping to draw from this new information? Everyone in here knows what this bottle contains, except one man. One person in this courtroom should theoretically be in the dark. My prints are on that pansy-looking bottle? Is that what you're saying? Well, what the hell's in it anyway? A phony trial, a phony lawyer, and phony clues. Everything about this case has been phony. Seems like the perfect excuse for some phony evidence. Mr. Kitty, this is the decisive piece of evidence that will prove your guilt. Why? Because it contains... This bottle contains potassium cyanide. Potassium cyanide? The poison used to murder Mr. Elg, Your Honor. The victim's killer used this very bottle. And on this bottle, Mr. Mr. Kitty, we found your fingerprints. Well, how do you explain that? Ha 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 ha! You'd make a good clown, you know that. What? Yous ain't never gonna get this to stick. Yous just making me laugh now. You think a cheap bluff like that's gonna fool the tiger? A bluff? I can see straight through you, Phoenix Wright. That ain't the bottle with the cyanide in it. No, this is the bottle we found traces of the poison in. Don't mess with the tiger or you're gonna get ripped to shreds. The cyanide bottle was brown and it was made of glass. That cheap piece of trash don't look nothing like it. Got him. At last. What? Why has everyone gone quiet? I said that bottle. Is this the bottle you're referring to? Yeah, that's it. That's the bottle the cyanide was in. Neon says, thanks for correcting us on this important matter. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Kitty. But yous ain't gonna find my prints on that bottle. Don't let that cozy-looking suit fool you people. That lawyer's just playing games. Tell him, Mr. Prosecutor. Tell that guy where to go. You still haven't figured it out? Don't you realize what you just said? What I said? What did I just say? You were summoned to this court for the first time earlier today. If you really had nothing to do with the murder, you shouldn't have known all the little details. For instance, you shouldn't have known what kind of bottle the potassium cyanide was in. Grr. But just now, you slipped up in front of every single person in this courtroom. You described the exact bottle used by the killer to hold the poison. Yous don't know who you's messing with. I'm the Tiger. I control millions of dollars on the black market. Yous think I'm gonna let some jumped-up suit get the better of me? Sure, the last piece of evidence was phony. But that's just what you deserve. The phony trial with a phony lawyer. It was all played out by you, the biggest phony of all. Grrr. What's going on? It looks like a blackout. Well done, Trite. I saved my 17th cup of coffee just for you. Neon says, I think he might be upset. Just a little bit upset, I think, yeah. Savor it. While you watch the police restrain your prey. Thanks for saving your last cup for me, I guess. Mr. Wright, you caught a tiger by his toe, but if this one hollers, he won't be let go. Now then, how are things going with Mr. Kitty, Mr. Godot? He's being arrested on suspicion of the murder of Glen L, Your Honor. Fortunately for us, we managed to rectify a very grave error. Miss Bird was found guilty in the absence of a genuine defense attorney. Yes, she was. And in the absence of genuine evidence. But the tiger made one mistake. Indeed. He very nearly got away with everything if it wasn't for that one slip of the tongue. Virio Tigre is a truly frightening criminal. Ha. The truly frightening one is that defense attorney over there. Godot. Well, I am now in a position to deliver my verdict. This court finds the defendant, Maggie Bird, not guilty. Hooray! That is all. This court is adjourned. Mr. Wright, I'm at a loss for words. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Maggie. I was so mad when Mr. Wright landed me in all that trouble a month ago. But now I feel like I can forgive him. Hey, that wasn't me, Maggie. That was the tiger. Look, Nick, in the doorway. Detective Gumshoe. Oh, guess I'll be heading off then. See you around, pal. Wait. Detective Gumshoe. Oh, yeah, congratulations, Maggie. Thanks. I knew you were innocent all along. Why didn't you say that in your testimony then? Huh? Oh, well, Well, guess I'll be heading off then. See you around. forget them. Can't you put in a good word for him, Nick? Yeah, Maya's right.
Take that!
The old standby. Technology. So good. It's really good. So the case of phony versus genuine comes to an end. The false allegations surrounding Maggie have all been cleared up. And who knows? Maybe a whole new chapter of her life is about to start. Hooray! Finally, the case is over. A brand new episode has been added. This looks interesting. And in the last roughly half hour, let's see how far we can get in this. Oh, baby edgy, yes. So nervous. I feel like I'm gonna die. I never should have accepted this case. Eek! Good morning. Don't be so jumpy, Mia. I didn't do nothing, I swear. I didn't kill nobody. Terry Falls, my first client. Sentenced to death 5 years ago, and now a prison escapee. Just relax, Mia. Make small talk and try to relax him. So why did you escape anyway? Eek! I'm sorry. I didn't do nothing. I didn't kill nobody. Neon likes Mr. Falls' face. I never lie. I didn't escape from nowhere. But Mr. Falls, the police just recaptured you 2 days ago. Ugh. Sorry, I told a little lie. Oh, boy. But anyway, I didn't do it. I never killed nobody. Sorry for asking, but you're on death row, right? Eek! I'm really sorry. They sentenced me to die 5 years ago, but I was tricked, I tell ya. That woman, she lied in her testimony. That's why I got the death penalty. I swear it, I didn't kill her. I could never do that. 2 days ago, he escaped from the police wagon when it crashed. Then about 8 hours later, a policewoman was murdered before the police could recapture him. The police believe that Terry Falls did it. After you escaped, did you meet a policewoman? Yeah, I did. She's the reason I escaped. So that much is true. He did meet with the victim. But I didn't kill her! She was alive when I left. She was alive. It's true. I can trust him, right? I mean, I should. Ha. You're not going to figure out the truth by just staring at the guy. Why are you here? I came to see how our little kitten was doing all alone in the big, scary lion's den. I thought maybe you'd like someone to play with. Where's Mr. Grossberg? Ha, that old man is probably still in bed. I bet he's clutching an empty bottle and mumbling in his sleep. Aren't I good enough? After all, it's me, Diego Armando. I didn't say... So, Diego Armando, the finest attorney at Grossberg Law Offices, is here for me? No. You've got it all wrong. Today, you're the finest. After all, it took an amazing amount of guts to take this case. Imagine, an escaped death row convict for a first client. Yeah, thanks. I sure wish I could get out of it, though. Ha, relax. I just heard some good news. The prosecutor for today is fresh out of his diapers as well. Really? However, unlike a certain somebody who I won't mention, he's earned the reputation as a genius since beginning his law career. Genius? Well, it's about time to head in, kitten. Sharpen those claws of yours. It's go time. A solitary confinement cell for the condemned must be the world's loneliest place. Yeah, and also kind of a human rights violation. All things considered. And that's what my client ran away from. Every other lawyer gave up on him, but not me. When I saw those overflowing eyes and heard that simple, childlike voice... Oh, I guess I should be making him sound more like a kid, shouldn't I? I just had the feeling that he was telling the truth. Keeping up with the Mia voice is gonna be hard. But I like the Mia voice, so...
Court is now in session for the trial of Terry Falls.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor. I understand the lawyers for both sides are newcomers?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm Mia Fey.
Miles Edgeworth, Your Honor. So you're the new prosecutor everyone's talking about, eh? I say you joined the prosecutor's office at quite an early age. At 20, Your Honor.
I guess our little kitten hasn't earned herself much of a reputation yet, huh? Come on, Mia, you can't lose. Not to someone younger than you. I don't have a thing for me. 27? Huh. A hotshot lawyer, my senior and rival at the office. A bit smug. Dubbed a genius as soon as he started as a prosecutor. Today is his court debut. Baby!
Young people running a trial. I'm not too sure how I feel about that. Now then, the defendant in this case is currently a felon on death row. 2 days ago, he escaped from a police wagon. Is that correct?
Precisely. But the defendant is not on trial for escaping prison. On the day that the defendant escaped, a policewoman was murdered. So we're here to determine if Mr. Falls was responsible for her death. You got it, kitten.
Well then, Mr. Edgeworth, let's hear your opening statement. Yes, Your Honor. It was 5 years ago. The defendant, Terry Falls, was sentenced to death in this very court. His crimes were kidnapping, extortion, and murder.
I can't remember Edgeworth's voice.
I'm trying.
The girl he threw off the bridge was only 14 years old.
A truly horrible crime, I remember it well. There was no decisive evidence, the trial was long and protracted.
Correct. But in the end, what finally decided the case was a certain witness's testimony. A witness's testimony.
testimony of Detective Valerie Hawthorne, the person who confronted this criminal. She arrested Mr. Falls at the scene and later testified against him. She said she witnessed Mr. Falls throw his young victim into the river. For those who are not aware, Eagle River is well known for its powerful current. Most bodies that fall in are never recovered. So Miss Hawthorne's testimony was the one that put him away. That policewoman you just mentioned, that wouldn't be exactly the victim, the same woman that was killed 2 days ago. Police Sergeant Valerie Hawthorne. Aha, I see. The man who was sentenced to death based on her testimony escaped 2 days ago, with only one thing on his mind, to take revenge against the woman who convicted him. Aha, the truth is becoming clear to me now. Huh? Yes. It's quite obvious that the defendant is guilty. Sir, wait a minute, that's not right. At least hear the case before you decide on the outcome, Your Honor. Grr. Watch yourself, Miss Fay. I'm not sure I care for your word choice or your tone of voice. Young people these days simply don't know how to respect their elders. You're younger than I am! Why, you're even younger than me, you hypocrite. Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, please call your first witness. I call the detective who was in charge of the initial investigation of this case. Hey, it's Gumshoe with a different colored coat. Witness, state your name and occupation. Gumshoe, Dick Gumshoe. I'm the homicide detective in charge of the case, sir. I finally got promoted to the detective division half a year ago. I don't believe anyone asked you about that. Hey, ma'am, you got any idea how much work it takes? What is it? You're really gorgeous. Excuse me? No, seriously, my heart is aching for you. Detective, pull yourself together and try to be professional. Otherwise, I'll write you up on contempt so quick that something other than your heart will ache. Okay, I got it. Do not be distracted by the sexy, please. Now, detective, tell us about the incident. Neon says, "All these babies! Yes, this court was just full of babies. And it's gonna be even more full of babies soon enough. And I don't mean that in a sexual way." Yes, sir, right away. The victim was Sergeant Valerie Hawthorne, a veteran on the police force. She was stabbed in the back with a knife and died from excessive blood loss. Not much is already stated in the autopsy report. The court would like to hear more details about the incident itself. Yes, sir, I gotcha. Okay, let's take a look at this aerial map of the area here. This is a sketch of Dusky Bridge, an old suspension bridge. And the river that runs under there is Eagle River. The victim and the defendant met here, on top of the bridge. After stabbing her... Sir? I see. Was the victim's blood found on the bridge? The victim, Sergeant Valerie Hawthorne, was wearing a thick coat, sir. And unfortunately, no traces of blood were found on the bridge. Mr. Edgeworth, I'll warn you that I absolutely despise conjecture. If there was no blood on the bridge, then you have no proof that they even met there. Unknown person phoned the sergeant and asked to meet. Sergeant Hawthorne went to Dusky Bridge at the designated time and met with Mr. Falls. And that's where she was brutally murdered, sir. The criminal stuffed her body into his car trunk and tried to make a getaway. Mr. Falls was arrested at a police checkpoint we set up at the base of the mountain. Well, you certainly have established the importance of the bridge. Naturally. Now, would the defense please hurry up and proceed with the cross-examination? Yes, Your Honor. Cross-examination coming right up. Hey, settle down there, kitten. If you keep trembling like that, you're gonna make me spill my coffee. I'm not trembling. It's just cold in here. The courtroom can be a cold battlefield, all right, especially for a beginner. I don't need you to worry about me. I mean, the defendant, the witness, everyone's a beginner in here. Ha, you got me there. But maybe you should keep your claws out and show them what you've got, kitten. It's okay, Mia. Stay calm. Just remember those court procedure videos you stayed up all last night watching. Let's just press around. This unknown person, you have no idea who it might be, right? Sorry, but I'm afraid I do. What? The one who called Sergeant Hawthorne was the defendant, Terry Falls. What? The defendant? The defendant called her? Sergeant Hawthorne was a very thorough person, sir. She left a note about her phone call with Mr. Falls. A note? Yeah, a top-secret memo that she left in her desk. According to this note, it seems the one who called her to the bridge was indeed the defendant, Terry Falls. Let's take a look. Yep, Falls, 4:30 p.m. at that bridge. Wear white scarf for identification. Talk to Dahlia. Tell her this time the whole truth must come out. Ugh, whose bright idea was it to keep that note from me? Ha! Looks like the judge is even more sure of his verdict now. Listen up. Never ask a question if you don't already know the answer. It's that detective's fault. He's the one that said unknown person. Hey now, don't make that face at me. I just said it that way because the prosecutor told me to. Was that a trap? With that cute face, I didn't expect him to be so sneaky. Look at that adorable little baby. A bridge up in the mountains, but why meet there? Because it is a very important place to the defendant, that's why. What do you mean by that? If you remember, 5 years ago, the defendant kidnapped a young girl. He was chased onto a bridge, and it was there that he killed his hostage. And the place where all of this occurred is, of course, Dusky Bridge. The very place where Sergeant Hawthorne arrested and handcuffed Mr. Falls. Ha! Returning to the scene of the crime, how nostalgic. And that's where she was brutally murdered, sir. Yep. Was the body of the victim discovered right away? Yeah, we were really on the ball. We found the criminal within an hour of the murder. It was great. We even got to say, "Don't move! We've got you surrounded." Wait a second. Isn't there something weird about that? The location was a suspension bridge up in the mountains. So how did they find out about the crime so quickly? Sergeant Hawthorne must have mentioned the phone call to someone else, right? Ha. If that's what had happened, then she wouldn't have been killed. She never mentioned the phone call from Mr. Falls, but she left a note on her desk about it. If only I had noticed it earlier, maybe she'd still be alive. Oh. I wonder why she didn't mention the phone call to anyone. Hold it! Mr. Falls had a car then. Well, that bridge is way up in the mountains, ma'am. And the defendant and the victim both went up there by car. I mean, how else, right? What? You mean the defendant drove his own car? No, of course not. It was stolen. He stole it from a young couple that had been waiting at a red light. So, Grand Theft Auto style. Car thieves. I'm not sure how I feel about car thieves. Is this guy sure about how he feels about anything? This is a photo of the stolen car's trunk. Naturally, that's the body of Valerie Hawthorne in there. Whoa, that doesn't look too comfortable. No, but I don't think she was in any position to complain at that point. The victim, she was stabbed in the back, correct? Yeah. Ha. For some reason, men always seem to get stabbed in the back. We're talking about a woman here. You can't tell from this photo, but the knife was stuck in her back nice and firm. The condition of the body when it was discovered is very important information. Detective, was there anything strange or noteworthy in the trunk of the car? Here's a photo of the trunk, but I don't see anything strange, do you? Anyway. It certainly is some impressive police work. Well, no, actually, it was way too close for comfort. We set up that checkpoint just after 5 p.m. We figured that Mr. Falls might just try to run. What do you mean it was too close for comfort? The two of them arranged to meet at 4:30 p.m. And it takes approximately 30 minutes to go from the bridge to the checkpoint. That was kind of close. Any later, Mr. Falls could have slipped right by. Listen up, kitten. There's a big trap waiting for you in that testimony.
A trap?
Walk into it carelessly and it'll leave more than just a flesh wound. Fun, huh?
No, it's not!
Well, if you want to have any chance at all, you'd better get some more information. And if you're going to get caught in a trap, it's best to get caught early. You can always look for contradictions afterwards. The ever-famous contradictions. I sure hope I can find some of those. What did the defendant have to say about this photo? What he always says, man. I didn't do it. I didn't do nothing. That's all he says. Nothing? I wouldn't say he did nothing. At the very least, we know he stole a car. It's just what he always says, Your Honor. And then he always says, sorry, I told a little lie. Or something like that. Well, in any case, it seems he was caught and arrested. Precisely. Obviously, that's what I'm looking for here.
Objection!
Oh, wrong one. There we go.
Objection!
I'm a dumb. There we go. Witness. What is it? Do you have something to say, Miss Fay? I'm sorry, I totally forgot what I was going to say. This is the first time I've ever had to actually address someone like that. You should have practiced before coming to court. Honestly, Miss Fay, I'm not sure I like this. Say there, little kitten, want a piece of my coffee candy? Candy? Well, you're still too young to be drinking real coffee. Grr. Come on, Mia, shake it off. You're a lawyer. Detective! Yes, ma'am. This photo, you said that there was nothing peculiar about it. Is that correct? Yeah, that's what I said. Well then, I suggest you take another look at the note written by the victim. The note? It very clearly says, wear white scarf for identification. The caller must have forgotten what the victim looked like, thus this special request. I have one very simple question for you, Detective. Where is the white scarf? I can't seem to find it in this photo. Well, to be honest, we didn't find it in the trunk, ma'am. And you stopped there? You should have looked for it. Arg! The caller told her to wear it to identify herself, so I'd expect she did just that. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what do you have to say about this? I see the defense is a little lacking. The scarf you're searching so desperately for? Is it this one, perchance? Ah! Where did you find that, sir? On Dusky Bridge. I was there first and decided to conduct my own investigation.
Why? Why didn't you tell me?
I made a decision to keep all pieces of evidence in my personal satchel. It's the safest place I know. That hotshot sure has a flair for the dramatic. It's not exactly white as the caller requested, but as you can see, it's close enough for what it was intended for. Looks like it spent some time in the mud. Not surprising, it was drizzling on the mountain that day. Prosecutor Edgeworth, he was intentionally hiding that scarf the whole time. The court will accept the scarf into evidence. Now, if the attorney for the defense is finished embarrassing herself, I'd like to move on with the testimony. That is all right with you, isn't it, Miss Fay? Boy, would I like to wrap this scarf around his smarmy little neck. Very good. Now, if we're done with this mud-covered scarf business, the prosecution moves to establish conclusively and with hard evidence that Miss Hawthorne and Mr. Falls did indeed meet on that bridge that day. Neon says, "Fight me, child!" Yeah, seriously, smarmy little baby. At least he'll grow up eventually. Further, we will show exactly what occurred there. That sounds quite promising. I can't wait to hear all about it. Arg. Everything is moving at his whim. Don't forget, kitten, there's a reason why everyone considers this kid a genius. A genius, huh? Actually, there's an eyewitness who was there when the incident took place. This photo was accidentally taken by the witness. It shows the Vic wearing the scarf, sir. It was drizzling that day. Unfortunately, it's a little hard to see what's going on. Anyway, the criminal shoved the victim down from behind and stabbed her in the back. That must have been when the scarf fell off. On the bridge? Looking at this photo, you really get the sense that this bridge is very high up. It is about a 40-foot drop from the bridge to the Eagle River down below. Mr. Edgeworth, who took this photo anyway? Let's just say that it was a well-intentioned third party. Aha, potential witness, so why isn't this person in the courtroom? Well, they said they absolutely did not want to testify. The person in question is very delicate, Your Honor. Besides, as long as we have this photo, we see no reason to compel them to testify. I'm not sure how I feel about that. So, as you can see, Terry Falls had both the motive and the opportunity. I think it's quite clear at this point what happened on that bridge. Aha, the truth is becoming clear to me now. Huh? Yes, it's quite obvious. He's clearly guilty. Not again. That's not fair. I haven't even done my cross-examination yet. What do you mean, Who is this eyewitness? She's a college student. A female college student? That's right. Meaning she's female and a college student, ma'am. She doesn't do well in front of other people, so I came to testify for her. Maybe so, but as the attorney for the defense, I have the right to cross-examine her.
Objection!
For the time being, we're not relying on the witness's statements, that is all. What is that supposed to mean? The prosecution has other, more decisive evidence. Our case doesn't rest on the vague testimony of a female college student. A female college student, eh? I mean, she's female and a college student, sir. If you absolutely must hear her testimony, you'll have to give us a good reason why. Grr. Please tell us about the more decisive evidence in question. The victim was wearing a scarf in that photo, all right. So, about the witness who took this photo. What was this person doing all the way in the mountains? She was taking photos of wildflowers, apparently. There are many unusual types of flora on that mountain, Miss Faye. People in the area say it's because of these spirits that live there. Spirits? Now that you mention it, this photo. This cloudy, fog-like thing. Is it a ghost? I don't believe it. No, Your Honor. No, I don't think it's a ghost. It was drizzling that day. Hold it! Drizzling, huh? That's right. There was a light rain coming down. The whole place was dreary. But not as dreary as the mood that's in this courtroom right now, haha. Looks like a cold front just moved in. In any case. The point is that the area was quite damp. There was even some fog. I even slipped and fell while I was on the bridge. It was really something. Is that part of the witness's testimony as well? Of course it is. They pushed the victim hard in the back and she fell down right in her stomach. I remember that happening once myself. It was really brutal. Are you talking about seeing someone get pushed, or were you the one getting pushed? Or does it mean that you pushed someone down like that once? With his mind-boggling tales and the way he said brutal, I wonder if he's Canadian. Ha. Save your nasty look for the right person. Huh? Take a look. Poor baby. The court record seems to have wet itself. Hey, watch where you spill your coffee. Court record, huh? Hold it! So in other words, there was a struggle between the criminal and the victim, huh? That's what the witness said. Well, it looks like she didn't remember about the scarf. But from what she said, it sounded like a pretty violent fight, ma'am. The area was wet from rain. The bridge was probably wet too. Which would explain why the scarf was all covered in mud, but there's something about this testimony that's still bothering me. Talk about a surprise. I had no idea there was a photo. So what do I do? You really still believe him? Mr. Crybaby, I mean. Of course I do. So the little kitten believes in fairy tales, huh? In that case, the answer is obvious. If what you believe is the truth, then that means that somewhere hidden in that testimony is a contradiction. One huge contradiction waiting to be discovered. That's your chance. That's what I want to present. Oops. So at the time of the crime, there was a light drizzle coming down, correct? Yeah, and fog, too. Just a generally soggy atmosphere. Well, I have evidence that doesn't go with the soggy atmosphere. But this is a photo of the victim's body that was found in the car trunk. Considering the conditions at the scene of the crime, something isn't right. Well, by all means, please enlighten us as to what isn't right. What is it about this photo of the trunk that doesn't fit with the conditions that day? Naturally, the answer is right here. The victim's coat? As far as I can see, there's nothing strange about it. That's exactly what's strange. Recall the testimony. What were the conditions on the bridge that day? It was drizzling and foggy. Dusky bridge was all wet. If the victim really had fallen down on her stomach on top of the bridge, then the front of her coat should have been covered in mud. Irk. That's exactly right. The other day I fell on a muddy street and my gorgeous playoff beard was befouled.
Objection!
I do admit that the crime scene was quite wet that day. However, that doesn't mean that the top of the bridge itself was muddy. If Your Honor had fallen in the shower instead of on a muddy street, your glorious hockey beard, pride of the legal league, would be wet but not muddy. Fortunately, I have yet to test that. Still, your point is well taken. Can you prove that the surface of the bridge was muddy that day? The surface of the bridge, huh? Ha, a real man wouldn't stand for a taunt like this. Neither would a real woman. Of course I can. Here's the evidence that proves the surface of the bridge was muddy.
Take that!
The evidence is this scarf. Ah! It should be obvious. If the scarf fell onto the bridge and got this muddy, it means that the bridge was obviously covered in mud. Urgh! No, I can't be outwitted by this novice bimbo. Hey, watch your mouth! Hey, same to you, buddy. No, he'd be a himbo, not a bimbo. Ms. Faye's assertion makes perfect sense to me.
Objection!
I do admit that there appears to be a contradiction between the condition of the victim's coat and her scarf. However, the real question is, why is there a contradiction? Huh? For every contradiction, there exists an explanation. Let's look at what the explanation in this case may be, shall we? Alright. It's not like he's really giving me a choice here. Ha. You're doing pretty well for a little kitten. Mr. Armando. No matter what he says, a contradiction always comes down to a lie. It's either the victim discovered in the trunk, the witness's photo showing the defendant and the victim, or the witness's testimony that stated she saw the moment of the murder. Just relax and think it over. It's pretty simple, isn't it? The false evidence? It's one of those three. What you said just now, I'm not sure I like that. That wasn't me, Your Honor. It was the coffee aficionado over here that said it. This court is not in the habit of accepting false evidence, you know. Blame it on him, Your Honor. He's the one trying to slip false evidence into court. But we won't let him. We'll expose his evidence as the flimsy scam it really is. Yes. The false evidence in this case is the... I think this is a good spot to leave things off on, don't you? A nice little cliffhanger. So, next week, we'll find out what the false evidence is. Thank you for coming, and have a good evening.